Hi class, welcome to my capstone presentation. My name is Luis Espinoza, and in this presentation we will learn why cultural competency is essential and some strategies that can be used in a classroom to accomplish that. So let's begin with why is cultural competency essential. So quoted from Dr. Milton Bennett, developing cultural competency is an ongoing, lifelong pursuit to enhance the skills, knowledge, and attitudes necessary to understand, communicate with, and effectively interact with people across cultures. Let's take a look at the student population that I serve. So I teach at Desert Pines High School, where we have 3,129 students enrolled. 76.6% of those are Hispanic, 15% Black, 3.7% white, 2.4% two or more races, and 1.2% Asian. From those, 47% are female and 53% are males. All 100% are economically disadvantaged. For my class specifically, I teach boys functional fitness, grade level 9 through 12. Here we have the SMART goal for this project. The SMART goal is to increase sensitivity to cultural differences by the end of this unit. Students will accomplish this goal by creating an individual cultural project that shares their cultural background, which they will present to the rest of the class. Accomplishing this goal will result in students recognizing the diversity they are surrounded by and how others view their world differently, thus learning how to work with them. The teacher will use a rubric to grade this project. In the first day of school, the class will participate in a few icebreaker strategies to build cultural knowledge and cultural responsive teaching. As a cultural responsive teaching learning strategy, we have don't judge a book by its cover. Here, the class will be split into two different groups, boys versus girls. The boys will have a bowl filled with piece of paper of all the girls' names. The girls will also have a bowl filled with piece of paper of all the boys' names. The goal is for each group to talk it over and guess which name belongs to which student. They then place the name on that student's desk. At the end, we will see which group has more correct. Because many names will not match up to the correct classmates, the moral will be to not judge a book by its cover. This lesson will teach students that there are deeper levels to someone than just their appearance. Now, to get to know each other in a deeper level, we will move into a cultural and linguistically responsive teaching called Train and Pass It On. A squishy ball will be required for this one. The student with the ball will toss it to a random student and then ask a question about their culture. The student that receives the ball will answer the question and then ask the next question to whom they toss the ball to next. This strategy discloses the variety and differences of cultures in the classroom. Moving on to the actual lesson of this presentation, we have an individual cultural project. I present to you my lesson plan. As for the learning intention, students will learn about the cultures of their fellow classmates, in essence to become ethno-relative. For the success criteria, students will create an individual cultural project that unfolds their own culture, in which they will present to the class. Here we have the instructional procedures of my lesson plan. The individual cultural project will have at least 10 slides that will sum up a student's culture. Let's begin by looking at slide 1. Slide 1 will have the student's name, age, occupation, and career goal. Now slide 2 will have their nationality. Slide 3, their family tree. Slide 4, they will ask 5 friends to describe them using only one word. Slide 5, hobbies. Slide 6, fun facts / special talents. As for slide 7, bring your lucky object or incorporate a VABB strategy. Let's take a look at this strategy. Within this part of the project, students will practice VABB with their classmates. View my VABB poster as an example. Bring your lucky object to school day. As for validation, students will bring their most prized possession to school. This can be a lucky object or the favorite toy. As for affirmation, each student will get to share to the class how they got their object and why it means so much to them. For building, after the presentation, students will roam around the room and talk to other students more in depth about their objects. They can touch each other's objects if given permission. As for bridging, students will then openly share to the class whose lucky object, other than their own, they like the most and why. Here on the right side, you'll see my lucky object. My lucky object is my Jesus Christ painting. As a child, I got really sick and my mom bought me a Jesus Christ painting. I immediately felt better, and I've been having it now for 25 years. And not just as part of their presentation, but as a whole lesson, we are putting VABB into practice. We are sharing each other's cultures firsthand. Learning similarities and differences of one another will help us understand each other and work with one another. Back to the instructional procedures. Next we have slide 8, which is pet peeves. Slide 9, which is a 5-year plan. At last we have slide 10. Students will create a me poem for the last slide. This part of the project will incorporate an SEL strategy. Let's take a closer look at this strategy. For social and emotional learning, we have a me poem. A me poem is a poem that identifies the person that you are. After the presentation, students' me poems will get printed out and posted on the classroom wall. Then we will have a wall dedicated to everyone's unique self. Here you can see Cassell's Wheel of Social and Emotional Learning and how we can interrelate that with a me poem. A me poem promotes SEL through self-awareness because we can express our cultural identity, self-management because we can express our way of living, social awareness because we can express our perspective on those around us, relationship skills because we can express how we engage with others, responsible decision making because we can express how we analyze situations. Here on the right side, you can see my me poem that I created when I was in college. I will read it out loud for you guys. Me poem. Luis, college student, adventurous, jokester, responsible, determined, happy. Relative of Hispanic culture, lover of success, who feels nothing comes easy, who needs to get up when he falls, who fears no bump on the road, who gives no ifs or buts, who would like to see everyone succeed alongside, resident of Las Vegas, Nevada, Espinoza. As you see, my me poem touched base with many of the social and emotional learning competencies. Each me poem will be different and touch more or less on some competencies, but that's what a person is made up of. Moving on to evaluating the effectiveness of my goal. If you recall from earlier, the goal is to increase sensitivity to cultural differences by the end of the unit. As an informative assessment, there will be a rubric for the individual cultural project itself. The rubric will mainly sum up the 10 slides that we spelled out in the lesson plan. As for a formative assessment, if you recall the VABB poster, after the presentation, students will roam around the room and talk to each other more in depth about their lucky object. Students will then openly share to the rest of the class whose lucky object, other than their own, they like the most and why. Here I have listed multiple forms to communicate the plan to school, community, and families. As an FYI, fortunately, I am bilingual. I speak Spanish and English fluently, so I have an easier time with this than other teachers may have. Either way, I have started with some translation apps that are credible. We have Google Translate that I see many monolingual teachers use. We also have the new GPT-4. This is an AI tool that can help answer questions on demand, but its resources are endless. For example, you can also ask it to tutor you in Hispanic culture. For school staff, us teachers communicate with each other during our PLC time. We also use Google Chat as a messaging app. For community, I see us using the mainstream apps because we all have these already on demand. We can easily use these to form our classroom groups within, or we can share our educational resources with others through these. Lastly, families can contact me through phone, email, or schedule a parent-teacher conference. Thanks for taking the time to watch my presentation. I hope this lesson and the strategies incorporated within this lesson are useful in your classroom. As a takeaway message, this lesson helps students identify and clarify the different cultures within a classroom. After learning about other cultures, students will learn to respect and cope with them.